So what I have right here is a brand spanking new, never used, never even mounted. The plastic's still on it. Kingpin 3090 Ti from EVGA.
We interrupt this video to bring you a special message from iFixit. No, we interrupt this interruption with this interruption about new stuff from iFixit. Wish you had a new graphics card, but inventory sucks? Fix the inventory problems with iFixit. Whoa, don't drop it. Can't fix that with iFixit. Just kidding, yes you can. Wish you could take iFixit with you anywhere, but your pockets aren't big enough? Introducing the new More
And the new Minnow.
Take them with you anywhere. So get iFixit for your loved ones, or just get them for yourself.
I figured today, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna turn it on. I'm gonna turn it on, I'm gonna benchmark it. I wanna see what happens with this card. It's very similar to how the 3090 was. So for instance, if you guys don't know what Kingpin is, it's Vince Kingpin.
Did someone say overclocking?
Anyway, he was an EVGA Taiwan-based overclocker that worked in-house with EVGA, designed these PCBs and the overclocking and such from the ground up. Features that absolutely no other brand was really able to come up with like sort of out-of-the-box support. But this is a built-in OLED screen that gave you all kinds of telemetry of what was happening with your graphics cards. I mean, we're talking core temps, core voltages. There's a lot of things you can actually monitor with this, but memory temps and all that. Plus, not to mention, all Kingpin cards were ICX, which means that you could see temperatures in different points of the board. All the memory chips had temperatures that would show, edge temp. Hotspot temp would show, obviously your VRM temperatures would show, all that stuff would show. Most graphics cards these days just show you edge and hotspot, but this showed you so much more than that. But there's one feature on this that really indicated to me that had EVGA stayed in the GPU game, they probably would have had a lot less issues with the dreaded 12-volt high power melting issue. Is at some point here, Kingpin discovered you need more than one. So the reason why I'm showing a 3090 Ti that has this is because the TDP on this card is actually the same as a 4090. So you can see there's two 12-volt high powers on the back, obviously to make sure that there's plenty of supplemental power, so you don't get what was happening with the other 4090s. Now the 4090 card that I do have from EVGA, which was the engineering sample that I do run on a daily basis, that's like my daily card. It is full of dust and filthy and I feel bad about it, but I use the damn thing and I figure that's the best way to honor it. So I don't know if this is something that maybe they could have come up with over time and realized like, hey, maybe we should put two on there. But as you can see, because of the heat that it can generate, being the same TDP as a 4090, it comes with a 360 AIO in there. In the past, Kingpin cards had come with 240 AIOs. In fact, I've got one on the wall behind me, but this one's a 360. I don't like the fan design though. There's a lot of gaps. I still think a cage that covers all these corners where air can escape back out would be beneficial. But anyway, these three fans are controlled by the card itself via this three-way connector right here, or three-way splitter for PWM. So you control the fan RPMs on the radiator through a fan control software like MSI Afterburner, or more importantly, Precision X1 or PX1, which was designed specifically for the Kingpin card. Now, one thing I don't have set up right now, I do have the software somewhere, but NVIDIA doesn't allow third parties or add-in partners or board partners to modify the card beyond specifications that NVIDIA sets for things like power delivery and the core voltage and all that sort of stuff. However, this card is fully unlocked, meaning if I were to download the software that would have to be, you actually would have to request it. Back in the day when you could buy this card and it was new and you wanted to take it for a spin doing exactly what it was meant to do, which is like liquid nitrogen overclocking and stuff, you would reach out to Kingpin and say, hey, here's my card and my serial number, and then they would actually send you a version of the software that allows you to, in LN2 mode, be able to technically flash another BIOS to it that then gave you full software control of overvolting and all the craziness that you would want. Stuff that typically you have to modify a card to give you with like old shunt mods and things like that, which will allow you to fool the power delivery and the voltage into thinking it was something lower so it could go higher. It was built in. It was part of the design. It's just NVIDIA wouldn't allow them to bulk ship that with the cards, meaning as a download from the downloads page, you had to request it from EVGA. I don't have that with me right now. That would have been great to have. However, this cooler would not have been sufficient for that level of overclocking. Even getting just a little bit of extra voltage could help. Anyway, unless I was doing LN2 with their custom pot and stuff for this, which I've done with these cards. Actually did with the 3090s, but I digress. it's something that you only can take advantage of if you're doing the exotic cooling. Now it does have 3 BIOS on it. So it's got a normal BIOS, an OC BIOS, and an LN2 BIOS. I do have the LN2 BIOS selected right now because I figured why the heck not? What else to talk about? Nothing other than the fact that it still has all the plastic on it. So we're gonna do... It's just the radiator. It's
broken in now.
Fine, it's the rad. I love this card. That's why it's on display. You guys have seen it behind me now for like 2 years. I never realized this. It's because the plastic was on there, it's a 2-tone. So it's like brushed metal. Whoa. And it's like a satin metal. At least this doesn't have the EVGA herpes fans that you hated, but, yeah. but the GPU does. If you're wondering what I'm referring to, EVGA, I don't know why they did this, puts these little like raised E's all over the fan, so Phil calls this the herpes fan. It's just one other thing.
And EVGA is aware of that because you said it to them.
I said it to them like directly. They were like, oh. Anyway.
Sorry, I still love your cards.
One other thing that this card has available to it right here is this harness that you could plug in. And basically it gave you a physical connection to be able to hook up like a multimeter or even a temperature probe or whatever to be able to monitor the things that are listed right here. So those are obviously different voltages that you can measure than ground points and stuff. So, all right, enough talking. I've got it hooked up to my 1500 watt power supply, which does give me 2 12-volt high power connectors. It's not gonna score even close to a 4090, but let's at least just see how it does today. If this computer is vibrating around enough to make this fall, there's a bigger problem than whether or not it's teetering on the edge. Okay, so we need to disable G-Sync. If you wanna get the most out of your GPU, maybe I'll do a video showing you guys how to get the absolute most out of your GPU in terms of like system optimizations for Windows and other programs. If you want that, make sure you like this video and say, yes, Jay, do that video. Okay, so we need to change our texture filter quality to high performance. We need to take our power mode from normal to prefer maximum performance. So it's gonna help keep our core clock up as high as possible. It's negligible whether or not this actually matters, but we're gonna do emphasizing performance for our 3D settings, but the application should be taken over anyway if I do something like Port Royal. I do miss this too. If there was a BIOS or a VBIOS update for an EVGA card, the moment you loaded PX1 or Precision X1, it would identify the fact that there's a BIOS update and will do it for you. This is actually a good thing. Like I feel like I should change these fans out, but I'm not going to because this is the EVGA out-of-box experience. So if I go changing that stuff around, then I kind of change that nostalgia. I mean, it's kind of like, you know, putting an LS in a 280Z, right? It's gonna be a badass car. Even like a 400 horsepower LS will move that 2,000 pound car down the track very fast. But then you'll piss off those people that are like, no, it should be an L28E or nothing. At least this is fast to begin with. If you want a slow car, then by all means, keep it in there. This has boost lock. So when I hit boost lock, that means it will automatically force the GPU to go to its max clock, P1 state. So immediately to its max clock. So as soon as I hit that, boom. Oh my God, I forgot how far we've come. It's 2100 megahertz.
I was expecting 3 something.
I know. Okay, one thing I also want to do is crank these fans, and I'm going to turn off hardware monitor. Believe it or not, having hardware monitor on can slow down your speed because of the fact that it has to kind of stop what it's doing for a second and ask the GPU and the other sensors like, hey, what are you doing? So even though it may not seem like much, every little bit helps.
That's what those pinouts are for, right? To monitor the card. That way you don't have to run the software to monitor the card.
Oh yeah, you'd probably only want to monitor voltage. And then if you're LN2 potting, obviously you'll have a thermometer for your LN2 temps and stuff. Okay, so I'm going to do this right now. I'm going to launch Port Royal. I'm gonna launch Port Royal. Actually, I had started playing around with a little bit of an overclock, but I think I need to go back to defaults. Just to kind of see where we are out of the box. It's funny how used to 40 series I've become, because like this FPS is terrible. Like 69, 70. A 4090 looking down should be about 118 FPS stock. Or 180, I'm sorry. This is 108, 115. It's like 180 down for a 4090. That's a huge difference. Okay, it's better than I thought. So it's a 15027. The average for 3090 Ti's is a 14901. Oh, and here's the ICX temperatures I was telling you about. So I can see my memory temps, edge temp, core temp, memory temp, VRM temps. Look at those VRM temps. They're being touched. I do know for a fact that there is a full copper heatsink around them, and then that fan that's on there is blowing air across the components on the PCB. So the PCB components are being actively cooled by that fan, and then the GPU core is being cooled by this. So that heatsink I told you about surrounds the core, touches the memory and the power delivery, and it's air cooled, which as you can see is doing plenty fine at idle here. It's funny because when I was doing the LN2 overclocking with 3090s, these were some of the numbers too that we had to make sure it didn't get too low. If the core would freeze and then you'd start getting frost coming across the PCB, even though we've insulated it with foam and Vaseline and stuff, if these started to freeze, then they would go below their operating temperature. And then you would start getting all kinds of crashing. So that's why Vince would always say, like, you can't chicken clock or go up too slowly. You just gotta go for it when you get a good mount and stuff, because of the fact that if it crept over, then it took too long and you froze memory modules and water can get back there. It was such a pain in the ass. Being Kingpin, I guarantee he sourced good RAM. So we should be able to go up 1,000 easily. There it is, 11,502. I'm pretty sure we can even go 12,000 probably, or 1,500. Nope.
Ooh, that's a hard crash.
That's a very hard crash. One reboot later. Okay, so memory is at 650 and being a little more conservative here. I haven't touched anything else yet except for fan and power. So I put those maxed out. I wanna see what our ICX, like our power temp looks like when we first hit the load. Not that it's gonna matter, I'm just showing. This is the crap that I miss. EVGA, come back, it's not too late. I'm sure Jacob would come back. One of the things that with the standalone software I've mentioned that you can do, and the reason why I'm thinking like I could have gotten 1,000 plus, is the fact that under the LN2 conditions and with the software I talked about with this, you get control over voltage for memory separate from the core. I get no memory voltage adjustment with the software. I have to use the overclocking utility. So that's one of the things I think I'm having muscle memory on being able to do that, but I'm missing that important factor of pushing the RAM, I think, to like 1.7 or something like that. Like, I don't even think I'll be able to hit 2250 to be honest. Let's see. I like to do 25 increments. Yeah, see? I knew it! I just wish like one of these days I could get a true golden sample at something. I don't think we'll gain much score, to be honest. It really does need LN2, because the thing is, this might just be a terrible ASIC under its current NVIDIA parameters. But like once you put it on LN2 and once you get voltage control, because poor ASIC quality stuff loves voltage, lots of voltage. And then some of the stuff that's getting the world records out there are taking a crap ton of voltage because they may be poor ASIC quality, but you could just hit it with so much voltage. Oh, you know what? I'm an idiot. My score is already affected negatively. Watch the FPS. This is a bug in PX1, I forgot all about it. Look, you see how it's like, it goes bloop, 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 bloop. Every 1 second, it does the thing where it's like, PX1, are you there? You still there? So it's actually, there's a crash. It actually negatively affects our score big time. And this was a bug that they never really got fixed. So I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna go 135 on this core, bring it down 1 bin, apply it. The problem is when I close PX1, I lose boost lock, but whatever. I'm gonna close PX1, and I'm gonna run it again. And you'll notice it will no longer be doing that little like, it's like 10 FPS drop. So I bet you that initial run I had going is also flawed. So it's really should be higher than a 15,000. And we'll do that again after this run just to see if the overclock holds. See how much more steady it is. It's not doing the little like drop every like 2 seconds or whatever it is. Oh man. I'm starting to feel like I should have just left it on the wall and I'm feeling super disappointed right now. I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed. Come on, this reminds me of the old days where you get like to the very end and the little ramp is coming down and she's walking out and you're like, yes, and then it crashes. It's like, no, son of a biscuit. Okay, here we go. Probably closer to a 20,000 on this run. Well, maybe not. 16,352. Okay, I mean, we got an improvement. We were at like a 15,100 something before. Certainly not terrific. I've seen, I think my LN2 card hit like 18,000 something if I remember correctly. So I don't know why I was thinking it'd be a 20. I'm just that far removed from running these tests. But there's one other thing I said I wanted to do, and I want to see now if I can put it back to base clock. If my score is anywhere near the same, then that means it didn't affect it as much as I thought it would, but it definitely affects the score when you see it dropping up and down like that. Okay, so 400 points. I mean, that could be somewhat within the margin of error. It's a little bit more than margin of error, but all right, there we go. Just a nostalgic video. I mean, I think a lot of people can share in my, the morning of EVGA. It's been 2 years now since they were like, nope, not doing this. It's really disappointing, but you know, it is what it is. All right, guys, thanks for watching. F in chat or thumb up if you miss EVGA and coming out with this awesome level of hardware. I would have loved to have seen what a Kingpin 4090 would have done with two 12-volt high power connectors that wouldn't melt. But all right, guys, thanks for watching, and as always, we'll see you in the next one. But it won't be an EVGA card.